is Robert Kirkman possibly the most fortunate comic book writer to ever live? I mean, he's like living every creator's dream. His whole career has been every single creator's dream. Like he
he's
came out
done
of the
good.
gate. He came out of the gate at Image. Like he
Well,
I mean, he got
he
that.
did He self-published Battle
He
Pope.
did Battle Pope with Tony Moore. Yeah,
He got his foot, if I'm not mistaken, got his foot in the door at Image with Larson.
he was friends with Eric Larson.
He
Yeah.
actually interviewed Larson and offered to pick him up from the airport for a show or something like that.
Something like that.
And then he ended up writing a Super Patriot miniseries, which I think Corey Walker drew.
Right.
And then they greenlit both Walking Dead and Invincible about the same time.
Yep.
I think Valentino was really instrumental in getting Walking Dead greenlit, because originally they was going to call it Night of the Living Dead because that's not copyrighted.
Yeah.
And Valentino was like, dude, no, name it your own thing.
Yeah.
Because you want the copyright smart. In case it takes off. And so he's always like, yeah, I'm glad I did that. And, no. I mean, he was very lucky, but both those series almost got canceled before they took off.
Oh yeah. And I'm not even talking like creatively. Like obviously he's a good writer. Like
yeah. But like I find it interesting. And sorry, I'm probably derailing it yet again.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like they actually moved up the story beat of Nolan that you see at the end of episode 1 or the end of issue 7. They're originally planning to wait much longer. But they're like, oh crap, we might be getting canceled, so we need to move this along. I think the same thing with Shane and Walking Dead.
Yeah,
with Shane getting taken out, they end up moving that up. But like,
because that was the thing too, like the twist with Omni-Man and Nolan. That was like the wake up call. Hook. That was the hook that got everybody into the book.
And honestly, anytime I ever recommended a comic, because you had to get to about issue 7 before that happens. Up till then, it reads like a standard. Hey, Superman had a kid.
Yeah.
And like it could be kind of a hard sell. Just like, hey man, read the first trade paperback, then it takes off from there.
Yeah.
And but no, yeah.
But so
right place, right place, right time. Very, very fortunate.
But he had the success, breaks. Like he had like this like immediate superstar success, like getting his foot in the door at Image and getting the 2 series that were able to stick around just long enough to really get the attention that it needed to just turn into 2 endlessly long series. Then he got to work at Marvel, and I know he
didn't care for the Marvel stuff, so
he didn't enjoy working at Marvel as much. But
I worked at Current as the kayfabe guys. They did an interview with him.
Yeah,
and it did something like
it sounded like
not holding back in that one.
Yeah, he's pretty open.
Said, these specific people, I did not like working with them.
Yeah,
and I'll never work with Marvel again.
He's been pretty open about disliking Marvel, but even again, like all of that aside, he got to write a comic book where his own superhero character got to team up with Spider-Man. I mean, who on earth gets to do that without selling the rights to the character that they made to Marvel? Like he might literally be one of the only like an indie creator that actually got to write a book where Spider-Man teams up with his own career. That's insane. They got to do the Ultimate X-Men where he could just kind of do his own whatever you want X-Men stories.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few like Larson had Savage Dragon crossover, Superman, McFarlane had Spawn crossover.
I mean, there are crossovers that exist,
but these are some of the biggest names in comics.
And they also started at Marvel, like they were, they were started at Marvel, then went to do their own thing, and then he not only does he have like all this super success in comics and get to work at Marvel, and then he's still successful enough that he can just turn his back on Marvel and be like, you know what, I don't need you guys. I got my own stuff.
He became an Image partner.
He got to be an Image partner. Who else is ever going to get that opportunity? And then he gets to like the biggest TV show, like one of the biggest TV shows. His comic turned into this giant TV show.
I still remember, like I think you were kind of like talking about this earlier, where like when he was a big name in comics, and then like the show took off. I remember, I don't know if it was Baltimore he was at, like after the show hit big. And they had like just this gigantic like AMC, just a mountain of a promotional thing behind him. He had like an entire block of the convention floor. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Versus like the year before when he had like a a table or two, just like the kind of small setup.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, so that's what happens when you got that big money behind you.
Yeah,
there,
exactly. Yeah. And now the icing on the cake is that he's getting a beautifully rendered animated adaptation of his superhero comic, which is again like I think what every comic book artist dreams of, that their comic could eventually become a cartoon or an animated, especially people now, because there's such a crossover love between like anime and comics. And
well, I remember I was actually talking with Rebecca because she's a big anime fan. But she's not a fan of violence. And so like I kind of have a feeling she wouldn't like the show, but I was talking to her earlier because I just finished episode 3 last night. I was like, I can warn you when the violent parts are coming up because I think you would enjoy it because it has a lot of sensibilities that the anime I've seen that I like has. And like I think like I was like, especially because she's familiar enough with the comics, and like I know that she'll love the characters because she's read the comics on and off back when I was reading them. So like she knows who's like Adam Eve and Battle Beast, and most of the main characters are. And but just because there's definitely this flavor to the show where like I think it has that same type, like it's that same type of appeal that the really good anime has. So,
I just think his career trajectory is like almost
like 1 in a billion.
It's unprecedented. Yeah, 1 in a billion. Like that's why I say like he might, if he's not the most fortunate comic book creator ever. And I say that not necessarily just because he's had great fortune and great success and he's good at what he does, because there's a lot of like the comic book industry itself also has this unfortunate history of being really bad to comic book creators. Like all the people that they like. All the people that suffered, all the famous stories about Jack Kirby and, Simon & Schuster, Alan Moore, Frank Miller, like all of them have so many stories of being screwed over by the publishers. And then like by the early 2000s, like the scene is just, the Image guys, also like their history. And it's like by 2004, like the scene is set for somebody like Kirkman to come in and I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's like he just has like the easiest, luckiest like time. Like, and that's not to say that nothing bad ever happened to him, but what I'm getting at is he was able to work for Marvel and turn his back on them because he didn't need them. Back in the day, creators did not have.
Well, I was going to say, here's an interesting what if parallel universe thing. What if Marvel hadn't treated them shitty?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, what if he had the same experience with Marvel that Bendis had, and they treated him really good, and he stayed there.
Yeah.
And he got like Corey Walker and Ryan Otley and Terry
and now
Moore all just went over the Marvel, and then none of this ever existed. And he had this very prolific 5 to 10 year span at Marvel instead, but didn't actually own any of it.
Yeah.
Because it could very easily gone that way.
It could have.
For whatever reason, the people at Marvel did not see in Kirkman what they saw in Bendis, and they just didn't give him that same respect. And so there's very like that's an interesting thing that I never thought about before. Is it could have very easily gone a different way had Marvel just been nicer to us.
Right. Yeah.
But I think comics would have suffered for it because I think what he brought to independent comics on just the stuff that he has written. And
I agree.
But also the other stuff that Skybound, his company, is.
Yeah, he's certainly a great voice and a champion for independent comics. Yeah,
and I think it also held out Image a lot, like what he brought.
Undoubtedly.
But that's interesting. That's the thing I never thought about before.
Yeah.
What if Marvel hadn't been shitty to Kirby?
Right. But I think that's also kind of endemic of the times, because now we're at a point where it's just so impressive that he can have such an incredible career without Marvel, like just not needing him, and like you said, it's still like it's a 1 in a billion type of thing. It certainly seems that way to me, but
this also makes me think of a slightly off topic. I saw a thing recently about Alex Ross, prolific comic painter. He was talking about how, I think it was something like he would still get some little royalties for like when they're using the stuff in the movies. Yeah. And recently they stopped doing it. And I was just like, that's really dumb. That's really dumb, cheap, and short-sighted, right? And that got me thinking about, on a broader sense, like the short-sightedness that a lot of these bigger companies can have on this stuff, where
Oh, for sure.
because it's not just that you're treating this creator badly, everyone else finds out.
Exactly.
And that will make
echoes.
somebody pull like a Kirkman and be like, I would rather keep the stuff for myself and take the gamble on making myself, because I don't trust y'all if I see y'all aren't taking care of the other people.
Exactly.
One is the right thing to do. Take care of the people who help make these empires, you know, because I mean, Disney and Warner Brothers, it costs them nothing. Again, it provides so much goodwill. If, you know, like say someone who is an older comic creator who is suffering from some issue and they don't even have good health insurance, if, you know, they can do something to step in and help, you know, somebody who helped create an iconic character, or just pay them a stipend, you know, it's just something that's but then they don't want to do it because they're like, we don't have to.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, but you don't know what you're potentially giving up.
Correct.
Because if you treated everyone as good as y'all treated somebody like Bendis, people would be making up stuff for you left and right, you know. But if you treat people like they're just cogs in the machine, and then again, it's something that, you know, the same way when you do something good and pay it forward, it has a domino effect. When you do something crappy, that also has a domino effect, and other people see it, you know. So yeah, I don't know, it's just a odd thing. Which I don't know, I've always been very amazed as I've gotten older how short-sighted companies are, just in general. They're just looking at whatever monthly quarter or whatever business, you know, thing to make it look good. They don't care if the next quarter suffers, as long as this quarter is good. They can't. There's no foresight on anything in a lot of the stuff. It's just like, man, like, you know, these comic writers and artists and creators, and even in the movies, the directors, just take care of these people, like the way AMC did Frank Darabont, you know. And you know, they were even trying to screw over Terry Moore and barely Robert Kirkman at some point.
I remember
right, they didn't want to pay that because AMC is just a bunch of cheap assholes, you know. It's just like they're being so short-sighted. But then, you know, you look at AMC now. First, I was reading on, I think, Reddit, where people were talking about, like, 10 years ago, they had like Breaking Bad and Mad Men and Walking Dead, and they seemed very prolific in that they were, and now they still only have Walking Dead. And that's kind of, you know, not what it was at one point, because they did not manage it well, you know. But like, I imagine a lot of people looked at the way AMC treated Frank Darabont or somebody, and it's like, I'll go make a deal with somebody else, you know. And apparently, like with Breaking Bad, it was Vince Gilligan's production company that actually produced it, and AMC just licensed it. So they didn't actually have any creative control over that show. So Frank Darabont got to make Vince Gilligan got to make all the calls on when that show ended. Like AMC could not interfere on that. Of course, if they could, we would be on season 15 or whatever. Bad, and they would have, you know, brought Walter White back from the dead. It'd be like the Walter White Walking Dead over there or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the short-sightedness of these companies is just always mind-boggling. Just take care of the people that make the stuff, have some goodwill, and you never know what's going to bring you in the future, you know. Or you're going to miss out on somebody as prolific as Kirkman. But it's like they don't see that, you know. So,
hey everybody, Aaron Walther here, just reminding you that if you like this podcast, please subscribe to the channel. Also, head over to secondthoughtcomics.com to stay up to date on the various comics that I write. For a limited time, I'm giving away a free PDF of my latest graphic novel, The Amoral Stingray. All you have to do is sign up to the Second Thought Comics newsletter. Link is in the description. Thanks for reading.